Today I shall talk about another one of my favorite works, which is Robert Frost's Two Roads Diverged in a Yellow Wood. Now I'm sure many of you must have already heard about this poem, and most of you must have also read this poem in your school days because it's that famous a work and it's one of the most famous books by Robert Frost himself. Alright, so without wasting any further time, let's start. This poem was written in 1915, and like I said, it's one of Frost's most renowned poems, which is recognized globally. This poem is commonly seen as a celebration of individualism, but it does hold diverse meanings. Alright, especially the famous lines, the last lines, which we shall come to in a moment. It explores the themes of choices, of individuality, and the consequences of the decisions, right? That is what this poem is about. Let's start with stanza first. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller. Long I stood, and I looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Is the first stanza, right? It's a beautiful one. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. Basically, he's talking about this choice, right? In this stanza, the speaker is describing that he has come across a fork in the road. It's diverging into two paths, right? It's a fork in the road in a forest. And here the speaker is saying that he cannot travel both the paths simultaneously at the same choice, and he has to make a choice. So he stands and he considers the first path and he looks that path as far as he can. Okay, he looks at that path. Now we come to the second stanza. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. Now this is stanza, and here the poet Robert Frost, he says that he decides to take the second path. He notes that it appears to be just as inviting and as valid a choice as the first one. The speaker here thinks that the second path might be better because it is less worn and it seems less traveled, right? Because it's wanted where it's all that grassy. However, the speaker also recognizes that both the paths, they have seen a similar amount of foot traffic. Both, that is something that he also recognizes. Now, the third stanza. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. Now look at the first line, equally, right? So he's saying that both the paths, they look like the same there, like both have been walked on equally, right? So here the speaker in the third stanza, he is reflecting that both the paths, they looked untouched and covered in the leaves, right? Equally, that word equally there. The speaker admits to the speaker admits to considering saving the first path for later exploration. He said that I'll come back to this another day. That's what he said, right? But he realizes that the course of life often leads to more choices and uncertainties. They doubt if they'll ever have the chance to return and explore that other path, the first path that he's not taking. He is wondering if he'll ever get that chance to explore that other path again. And now comes the fourth stanza, the very famous ones and the most famous last lines, one of the most famous last lines. Let me just read this out to you. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. Famous lines, most beautiful lines, one of the most beautiful lines and such inspiring lines to me ever since I read this. This stanza, like I said, it has become one of the most famous ones in literature. Here, the speaker anticipates looking back on this moment with a sigh in the future. He recounts that he chose the less traveled path. I took the one less traveled by, which made all the difference, which has made a significant impact on their life. The poem concludes with the idea that the speaker's choice to take the unconventional path has set their life on a unique course. In a sense, you can see that this work, this poem, it's a contemplation of the choices of lives and their consequences. It emphasizes the importance of individual decisions and the way they shape our personal journeys. The poem's iconic closing lines, they capture the idea that even small choices, they can lead to significant outcomes and experiences. I remember when my teacher, again, Bibha ma'am, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, then I remember that when you taught this to us, you told this meaning specifically that, people who take the less traveled option, like, many people go, wo, in Hindi we say bhed chal, hai na? That everybody following that same trodden path, but the ones who take the less traveled path, they are the ones, like, when later in life they'll be looking at it with some happiness that they took the less traveled road, and that made all the difference. And you gave us that ray of hope. You taught us that, taking that less traveled path is the preferred choice. Why? Because not everybody goes that way, right? Everybody is following what others are doing, what others have done before them. But when you take that less traveled path, that has made all the difference. Where you go where nobody else has gone before, when you have that daring, when you do that, that makes all the difference. That is something that you've taught me specially, and that is something that has stuck with me forever, like, ever since you taught this work to us. And although this poem, like I told you in the beginning, it has multiple interpretations, it's ambiguous. Like, it can also mean, if somebody has that negative mentality, like, half full, glass half full, or glass half empty mentality, if they have the latter one, the empty one, then they are going to see that because I took the path less traveled by, that made all the difference in a negative sense, right? But then for those who like to see things in a positive way, then it's going to be glass half full, right? Because I took the road less traveled by, and that made all the difference. You take that lines to be positive ones, and that is what I have done. I have always interpreted these lines to be the positive ones. In fact, just to tell you an interesting thing, it was not up till some time back when I was preparing something for my lectures, and when I was reading again, like, it was after quite a lot, like many years later, that I was reading this work again from the point of view of explaining to the students. And that is when I came across that, oh, this work has multiple meanings, because the meaning that was with me was the one that was taught to me by my teacher, and that was a positive one. So yes, I am grateful to Bibha ma'am that she taught me that positive meaning and not the negative one. So that is something that I would also like to impart here for all of you who are listening to this, who are watching this, that, how should I put it? Maybe that, great things come to you only when you take chances, only when you take risks. Not everybody has that courage to go the untrodden way, to take that untrodden path. Many of us, in fact, most of the people, they are just walking down the lane where everybody is going. But those who go the other path, those who have that courage, they are the ones who make a difference. And because only then, when you are old, when you are looking at your life at a later date, maybe when you are old, you can, you can take that contented sigh that, okay, I took the road less traveled by, and that made all the difference. Now, of course, yes, because Robert Frost wanted it to be ambiguous, of course it could mean the negative one. It could also have a negative interpretation for that matter. But again, for us literature students, it also depends on our interpretation of the poem, and I would encourage you to have a positive one, if not for the exam, but at least for it in your life, in your daily life, right? It's a beautiful work, and I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. And if nothing else, I hope you took the last two lines from the poem definitely, that I took the road less traveled by, and that made all the difference. That did make all the difference, So that's it for this particular video. I hope you liked it, and in case you did, then do not forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you so much.